Have you ever been laughed at by the people who were supposed to believe in you? Not strangers, not critics, family, the people who watched you grow up, the people who claim they'll always support you, the people who secretly enjoy watching you fail. Because that's exactly what happened to me. And years later, the same people who called me a loser would stand in my store begging for help. But by then, everything had changed. My name is Daniel Harper. I grew up in a family that worshipped success, or at least their version of success. My older brother Ryan was the favorite. He had the perfect grades, the perfect job, the perfect life, at least according to my parents. Every family dinner felt like an award ceremony for Ryan, and every conversation somehow became a comparison. Why can't you be more like your brother? I heard that sentence so many times I stopped counting. The truth was, I wasn't lazy. I wasn't irresponsible. I simply wanted something different. While Ryan dreamed about corporate offices, I dreamed about building something of my own, something real, something I could point to and say, I built that. But nobody took me seriously, especially after college. I worked at a local grocery store for almost 6 years, stocking shelves, managing inventory, learning suppliers, learning customers, learning business. Everyone thought I was wasting my time. I knew I was learning. Then one day, opportunity appeared. An old grocery store on the edge of town went up for sale. The place looked terrible. Broken signs, empty shelves, outdated equipment. Most people saw a disaster. I saw potential. The owner was retiring, and he needed a buyer quickly. The price was far lower than it should have been. But there was a catch. Buying it would require every dollar I had. My savings, my investments, everything. For weeks I couldn't sleep. I kept running the numbers, again and again and again. Finally, I made my decision. I bought the store. The next Sunday I told my family. Big mistake. The moment I announced it, Ryan laughed. Actually laughed. Right in front of everyone. My father wasn't much better. You spent your life savings on that place? My mother shook her head. Daniel, that's not a business. It's a mistake. Ryan raised his glass. Well, here's to bankruptcy. The entire table laughed. Even some cousins joined in. Nobody defended me. Nobody. I sat there smiling, pretending their words didn't hurt. But they did. A lot. Because deep down, part of me still wanted their approval. Part of me still wanted them to believe in me. But they didn't. And maybe that was the best thing that ever happened. Because from that day forward, I stopped trying to prove myself to them and started proving myself to me. The first year was brutal. Absolutely brutal. The roof leaked. The freezer broke twice. A supplier disappeared owing me inventory. And some nights I slept in the back office. Not because I wanted to, because I couldn't afford to go home. Meanwhile, Ryan kept getting promoted. Every family gathering became another opportunity for comparisons. Ryan got a bonus. Ryan bought a new house. Ryan invested in tech stocks. Then someone would ask about me, and the room would go quiet, like they were discussing a terminal illness. I hated it. But I kept working. Every morning before sunrise, every night after closing. Slowly things improved. Customers returned. Then more customers. Then even more. People liked the store. They liked being treated like neighbors instead of numbers. By the 3rd year, profits doubled. By the 4th year, I opened a second location. By the 5th year, something incredible happened. A regional grocery chain offered to buy my business. The offer was worth millions, more money than anyone in my family had ever imagined. But I didn't sell. I expanded. And that's when everything changed. Because while my business was growing, Ryan's perfect life was quietly falling apart. And none of us knew it yet. The man my parents worshipped was hiding a secret, a very expensive secret, one that would eventually bring him straight to my door. And when the truth came out, the entire family would discover who the real failure had been all along. For years, my family acted like Ryan was the success story, and I was the cautionary tale. But success built on appearances doesn't last forever. And Ryan's perfect life? It was mostly appearances. I didn't know it at the time, Nobody did. Not my parents, not my relatives, not even Ryan's wife. Because Ryan had become very good at hiding things, especially debt. The first sign appeared 6 years after I bought the store. I was opening my third location when my mother suddenly called. That alone was unusual. My parents rarely called unless they wanted something. I answered anyway. "Hi, Mom." Her voice sounded unusually friendly, far too friendly. "Daniel, sweetheart." Sweetheart? I almost laughed. She hadn't called me that in years. Then she got to the point. "Ryan is going through a difficult time." There it was, the real reason for the call. Not concern, not love. Ryan, always Ryan. I listened quietly. Apparently Ryan's real estate investments had collapsed. Several risky deals failed. Loans piled up. Creditors started calling. The man everyone called a genius was drowning in debt. My mother lowered her voice. "We were hoping you could help." Help. Interesting word, especially coming from people who laughed at my dream. I asked a simple question. "How much?" The silence lasted several seconds. Then she answered, $800,000. I nearly dropped my phone. 800,000. Not a loan for groceries, not emergency medical bills. $800,000. I couldn't believe it. Then came the part that hurt most. My mother said, "Family takes care of family." I closed my eyes, because that sentence carried 7 years of hypocrisy. Where was family when they mocked me? Where was family when I slept in my store's office? Where was family when I couldn't afford repairs? Where was family when I worked 18-hour days? Suddenly family mattered now, because they needed money. I politely declined. My mother's tone changed instantly. The warmth disappeared. The guilt trips began. "You've changed." No, I hadn't changed. I had simply learned. A week later, my father called. Then Ryan. Then cousins. Then relatives I hadn't heard from in years. All saying the same thing. "Help your brother." Not one person asked how I felt. Not one person acknowledged how they treated me. They acted as if my success belonged to the family, as if they had helped build it. They hadn't. Not even once. Then things got worse. Much worse. One evening I received an invitation to a family gathering, my mother's birthday dinner. Normally I would have declined, but something felt strange. So I went. Big mistake. The moment I arrived, I realized it wasn't a birthday dinner. It was an intervention. For me. Every chair was occupied. Parents, cousins, aunts, uncles, Ryan, everyone, waiting. My father stood first. "Daniel, we're here because we're concerned." Concerned? About what? Then Ryan spoke. "You have the ability to save this family." The room nodded. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Save the family? The same family that spent years humiliating me? Then Ryan made a mistake. A huge mistake. He smiled. The same arrogant smile he'd worn since childhood. And said, "Honestly, if it wasn't for me, you'd never have worked so hard." The room laughed. Actually laughed. As if my struggle was a joke. As if my pain belonged to them. That was the moment everything changed. Because for the first time, I stopped feeling guilty. Completely. I looked around the room and realized something. None of these people believed in me. They believed in my money. There was a difference. A very important difference. Then Ryan revealed something that shocked everyone. Without realizing it, he exposed the secret he'd been hiding. A secret involving forged signatures, fake financial statements, and millions of dollars in hidden debt. Suddenly the room became very quiet. Because this wasn't bad luck. This was fraud. And within days, authorities would begin investigating. The family's golden child was about to fall. And when he did, the same people who once laughed at me would come begging for a second chance. But by then, it would be too late. 3 weeks after the family meeting, everything collapsed. Not my business. Ryan's life. The investigation moved quickly. much faster than anyone expected. The financial documents were examined, the transactions were reviewed, the debts were uncovered, and the truth became impossible to hide. Ryan hadn't simply made bad investments. He had lied. For years. To banks, to investors, to business partners, even to our parents. The golden child wasn't a victim. He was responsible. And suddenly, the family hero became the family problem. News spread fast. Friends disappeared. Business partners stopped calling. Investors demanded answers. Within months, Ryan lost everything. The expensive house, the luxury car, the image he'd spent years creating, gone. For the first time in his life, nobody was rescuing him. Meanwhile, my business continued growing. The 4th grocery store opened, then the 5th, then a distribution center. The company that once operated from a rundown building now employed hundreds of people, people who depended on us, people whose families depended on us. And every time I walked through one of my stores, I remembered the laughter, the jokes, the mockery, the people who said I was wasting my life. One afternoon, my assistant entered my office. "You have visitors." I looked up. "Who?" Her expression changed. "Your parents." The room became quiet. I hadn't spoken to them in nearly a year. Part of me wanted to refuse, part of me wanted to walk away, but another part wanted closure. So I said yes. A few moments later, my parents entered the office, and for the first time in my life, they looked old. Not physically, emotionally. The confidence was gone. The certainty was gone. The superiority was gone. My father sat down first. My mother looked nervous, very nervous. Nobody spoke. Finally, my father broke the silence. "We owe you an apology." I almost didn't recognize the words, because I had waited years to hear them. Years. My mother started crying. Not dramatic tears, real tears. "We were wrong." The words hung in the air for a long time. Then she continued. "When you bought that store," her voice cracked, "we thought you were throwing your life away." I listened quietly. She lowered her eyes. "But you were building something." My father nodded, and we couldn't see it. Neither of us spoke for several seconds. Then he added, "The truth is," another pause, "we believed in Ryan because it was easy." That sentence hit harder than anything else, because it was honest, painfully honest. Ryan looked successful. I looked uncertain. So they chose appearances, and appearances lied. Then my father said something I never expected. "We failed you. Not once, not twice, for years." And hearing him admit it changed something inside me. Not because it erased the past. Nothing could do that. But because it was real. Finally real. Then came the question. The reason they were there. My mother quietly asked, "Can you help Ryan find work?" The room fell silent. There it was. The request. Not money, not a bailout, a chance, a job, an opportunity. For the first time. They weren't asking me to save him. They were asking me to help him start over. I thought about everything. The insults, the laughter, the years of comparisons, every painful memory. Then I thought about something else. The people who had helped me when nobody else would. The people who gave me chances. The people who believed in me. Without them, I wouldn't be here. So I made a decision. Not for Ryan, for myself. I looked at my parents, then said, "I'll give him an interview." My mother burst into tears. My father looked stunned, because they expected revenge. They expected anger. They expected rejection. Instead, they received grace. Several weeks later, Ryan started working at one of my stores. Not as an executive, not as a manager, at the bottom. The same place I started, stocking shelves, moving inventory, learning responsibility. And for the first time in his life, nobody treated him like the favorite. He earned everything, one shift at a time. Years later, people often asked about the secret of my success. They expected business advice, investment strategies, leadership lessons. But my answer was always the same. The people who laughed at your dream do not get to define your future. And the people who doubt you today may someday depend on the success they mocked. If this story taught you anything, let it be this. Never let someone else's opinion become your limit. Work quietly, stay focused, keep building, and one day, the results will speak louder than any criticism ever could. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more family betrayal stories, emotional success journeys, powerful revenge tales, and inspiring life lessons. Because sometimes, the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's success. The end.